Told you I was doing it again. Get ready for Nijisanji VTubers as D&D characters, Part 2, Obsydia. Same rules as last time. These are all going to be mostly stuck to the books and official rules, with the only exceptions being some possible UA stuff and tiny changes like adding a spell to a class list or changing a casting ability modifier, because it turns out Nijisanji didn't account for D&D viability when hiring. I'm also going to be using variant starting gold for equipment, or just making it the fuck up, you're not going to notice, and using custom backgrounds because the default ones suck ass, PHP 125. Using a custom standard array too, 16, 15, 14, 12, 10, 8, because the regular one is real bad, and I hate it. Multiclassing is allowed, levels can be whatever fits from levels 1 to 20, and most importantly of all, this is, a fucking joke. And only my way of making these characters, and that my way is objectively the best way. But with that done, we're going to start off with the dragon this time, Selen Tatsuki. And don't worry, even though her and Alira are very similar in a lot of very inconvenient ways, I have found a different solution to last time. It's worse. For one, if we want to have an actually new build, we need to find a way to get a dragon pet without ranger. Warlock can do that for us, just worse in almost every way. Pact of the Chain can summon a pseudo-dragon, which isn't really a dragon in anything but name, but that's good enough for us right now. Warlock also doesn't get shape change, so we're fucking the rules a little bit again. And while we're at it, let's add Dragon's Breath too, so Ember can actually breathe fire in some way. Because Selen can turn to a dragon, we need shape change again, so Selen needs to be at least level 17. Without needing to multi-class, she actually ends up 3 levels under her big sister, which feels right to me. So far, so easy. Dragonborn like Alira, level 17 Warlock, Pact of the Chain, we're moving! The issue is that, Selen is really good at shooters. Warlock can actually give her super strong guns, too. Now wait a second, that sounds like the opposite of an issue, and yeah, it normally would be. Pact of the Blade, summon big guns to make her really good at shooting, and suddenly this almost actually resembles the VTuber it's supposed to! But for the keen-eyed among you, or those that just know how Warlock works, yes, both Guns and Ember are from Pact Boons, and yes, they are mutually exclusive. So now, the big question. Which one did I pick? Which one did I feel was more important to Selen as a character? I didn't! Fun fact, you can build a Warlock that works with both Pact Boons, so we're just gonna keep going and I'll point out any differences between Pact of the Blade Selen and Pact of the Chain Selen. Starting from the top, we've already established class with the Hexblade subclass, and Pact Boon. And that she's a Dragonborn that can breathe fire and is pretty prideful and greedy, and yeah, she's a red Dragonborn. I know it's not her actual scale color, but black dragons spit acid, and she doesn't, so we move on. Pirate background because Ocean Law, with athletics and sleight of hand as skills, and 2 languages because even with them, she'll still actually know more languages in real life. Also, yeah, she getting chaotic evils in alignment. Stealing shit and blowing absolutely everyone, all of the time, forever, isn't getting anyone into heaven. Now we move on to stats, and while I was tempted to give her highest in Dex, Hexblade lets Selen use Charisma for weapon attacks, and that does make the 2 builds way easier to mesh, so Charisma is going to be her highest, with a +2 ability score improvement for a 20 total. For the rest, 16 Dex from the racial +1, 14 Strength, 12 Con, 10 Intelligence, and finally 8 Wisdom, because anyone that says that she can't get scammed, while showing off how she very obviously got scammed, quote, because of her trophies, ain't got neither perception, nor insight, nor any common fucking sense. Speaking of her stats, let's hit her class skills, and that's gonna be an easy deception and intimidation, already established, she's a liar and a bully. Next is her class features, and this is gonna be where things start to diverge. It's the same for Pact Magic and her subclass features, but her invocations are pretty different since a lot of the time they affect the Pact Boons. Both builds share Sign of Ill Omen to cast Bestow Curse once with a slot, Trickster's Escape to cast Freedom of Movement once for free, and Armor of Shadows to have functionally permanent mage armor. Then the gun build gets Arcane Gunslinger to be able to summon firearms, and then improve Pack Weapon, Thirsting Blade, and Life Drinker to make the guns +1 weapons, get multi-attack, and have them deal extra damage. And for the Chain build, replace those with Agonizing Blast and Eldritch Spear to make the Eldritch Blast as close to a gun as possible, and then Investment of the Chainmaster and Gift of the Ever-Living Ones to buff Ember and get better healing when he's nearby. Finally, we can move on to her feats, 3 of them, since one is already being spent on an ability score improvement. Both will take Lucky, mostly to avoid jams with the gun build, because yes, we're using Critical Role guns, they're an official option on D&D Beyond. Then take Gunslinger and Sharpshooter for a guns build, to avoid loading and to make them deadlier in longer range. Then take Spell Sniper and Crossbow Expert of all fucking things for the chain build. Spell Sniper is easy to understand. It lets us grab Eldritch Blast on this build only, and let Selen shoot further. But Crossbow Expert actually lets all range attacks ignore disadvantage against a target within 5 feet. Not just crossbow attacks, and without it, Chain Build Selen has little to no melee ability. Selen also gets a bunch of spells being, a spellcaster, but none of them are really important, so you can look over them yourself if you want. Eldritch Blast on the Chain build from Spell Sniper, Hex is good for laying on extra damage on attacks, Phantasmal Killer lets her inflict actual waking nightmares on people, Shape Change is a given, the rest I leave for you to find. Next is the objectively best girl of Nijisanji, Rosemi Lovelock. Now, first off, she's not going to be a druid, and I feel I should address that. See, while druids are the nature class, they aren't actually really plant related. The closest you can get is Spore Druid, and that really isn't right. Instead, I looked to the many nature-themed subclasses, and pretty easily settled on the nature domain Cleric, mostly because, well, fuck, of course I did, it's Rosemi. If anyone is going to be the bastion of purity and goodness that is a cleric, it was gonna be her. Now, let's cover her race, and... look, there are no plant options. None at all. Well, I mean, there are good homebrew options you can use, but that super breaks the rules. But I have found a solution that works well enough. Wood Elf. Now, that might seem like a compromise.
Because it is.
But hear me out. In debut, she says she's a purebred, cultivated rose of the highest standard. And if that isn't some pretentious elf bullshit, I don't know what is. Now, being a wood elf does actually give Rosemi something pretty important. Longsword proficiency. See, Nature Domain gives heavy armor proficiency, but no martial weapons, which leaves the only options really to sit back or waste the one druid cantrip we get from the subclass on fucking Shillelagh again, and that's boring. But, since Wood Elves get longswords, we can actually see our first serious melee build, and more importantly, our first strength build! Yes, you heard me right, Rosemi is getting big strong because she needs at least 15 to use heavy armor, and... man, I'm just fucking tired making all them dex builds because Nijisanji could only afford to spend gym membership on the guys. Like, we're not even halfway through, and out of the 8 women left, only one of them ever really had a chance. Aya. And she's still got fucking noodle arms! Buffs Me Exist and is, like, referenced in her opening levels of canon, I guess. Fuck it. Whew. Well, now that I'm good and depressed, we can cover the rest of her stats. 18 and 16 charisma and strength, and because she got scammed and gets confused by jokes a lot, she's getting 10 intelligence and 8 wisdom, but specifically low wisdom affectionate, not low wisdom derogatory. And yes, clerics are normally wisdom-based casters, but I have made the executive decision to swap it to charisma, because again I feel she's incredibly low wisdom affectionate, and really, is a rose's magic not its beauty? Holy fuck! People can actually say shit like that! Fuck! I feel sick! Anyway, the rest of her stats are going to be a 12 in dex and a 14 constitution. Pretty high because she does get part of herself cut off by Petra every night, and she just fucking sleeps through it like a champ. Then on to her class features. Nature Domain Clerics get a bunch of spells added to their prepared spell list for free, and I really want to grab the Plant Growth spell at level 5, so that's going to be her level. Yes, well, that also means she gets an ASI, and I just put that down as a +2 charisma, boosting it to a 20. Now, we should really wrap up with proficiencies, starting with the class ones, because that actually seems easier than what I've been doing. She's getting medicine and religion, because clerics only get 5 fucking choices. Most are bad, and the only 2 good ones are insight and persuasion, which I can't take because she's gullible, and she specifically said that she has trouble communicating and wants to get better at it. Can't do that if she's already proficient. Finally, her background. It's a pretty comfortable hermit. She did spend a large part of her life completely isolated, like, a hermit. Plus, it lets us use the ever-versatile Discovery feature. And I decided to go for the ability to speak to plants, because how else could she speak to rosebuds? Then for the proficiencies, I went with Nature and Survival, because she is a gardener, and 2 language proficiencies, because like Selen, she knows an absolute fuck ton of them. And finally, we come to Petra, the Penguin SCP. First things first, let's start with the easiest thing, her class, Druid. Obvious choice since Petra is, you know, a penguin. It's actually not dissimilar to what happened with Lyra and Selen and them being dragons, except this is so much easier to deal with. See, Druids get wild shape at level 2, which lets them turn into animals. Pretty shitty and weak animals, but we're looking for a fucking penguin here, so that's not a problem. Now what could be a problem is that technically Druids can only change into animals that can swim at level 4, and while I could just make her that level, I don't need to, because Petra can't actually swim without floaties either. At level 2, Druids also get their subclass, and that's even easier than the class itself. Petra is getting land. And even easier than that, the subclass has us pick a specific environment. And top of the list is Arctic. Ding ding ding, I think we have a fucking winner here. She also gets spellcasting, and a bonus cantrip, and some kind of spell slot recovery. But at this point, I'm just putting off having to talk about the absolute non-existent penguin racial option. There are some not bad options. There are some that have a swim speed if you believe Petra's propaganda. Simic Hybrid is weird and cryptid-like, I guess, but really nothing is good. So, since she is at least half human and half something else, I decided to make her a half-elf. I'm sorry, okay? I'm not happy about it either, but I'm working with what I got here. Fuck. The only thing of real import from half-elf is 2 skill proficiencies, which I put into performance and deception, because I actually really like her covers and, I don't know, nepotism, I guess? Now there is one thing about Petra's class, one possibility that I want to address, and that is Petra's constant, unending flirting, and how that could make her a bard. I opted against it for a couple of reasons. 1, Bard Druid is a really weird and kinda shit build. 2, I don't want her any higher level than I have to. I would have made her level 1 if I could. And 3, she's not actually very successful as a flirt. A more important note regarding her flirting is that she is fucking married. And you know what that means? Petra is, say it with me now, stupid evil. Not so evil that it's stupid, but so fucking dumb that it becomes immoral. But aside from Petra's many sins, she also has some stats, starting from the top at 18 wisdom because, well, mostly it's a druid build, but while she does get bullied a lot, it isn't normally because she does something stupid like Mista. She's then getting 16 dex from drawing, and also because it works with the build, 14 intelligence from making stream overlays, 12 charisma because she doesn't always fail at flirting, and finally 10 con and 8 strength, mostly through process of elimination. For skills, she's getting medicine and nature from time spent in the labs and from being a wild animal for a while, and the Outlander's Wanderer feature for the same reason, along with survival and animal handling proficiencies. She's also getting a language and alchemist tools, something else from the lab, and what she probably uses to really torture, attempt to clone, Rosemi. Let's just add some ticks to Petra's horrific sin count. 1 per day, and they've acted for 440 times, you say? And if anyone asks why cloning Rosemi isn't a herbalism kit thing, it probably is, and that's probably why Petra hasn't succeeded yet. Well, regardless, all that's left, aside from getting a much larger sin tracker, is Petra's spells, and really the only interesting ones are the animal ones, both Speak With and Friendship, and the one ice spell, Ice Knife, and the fact that she doesn't have Shillelagh. Not taking it because her dex is pretty high, and I don't want to be that fucking boring. Just because every druid really should have Shillelagh doesn't mean every druid will, and here's one right here. 3 more VTubers down and 4 more character sheets finished, because the Dragon Sisters were nightmares. All character sheets in the description, and let's all hope that the next group is easier. I mean, we've already had full-on dragons. What could even be worse than that? A mythically powerful spellcaster, maybe? Ooh, maybe a full-on god. No, an angel that was actually a demon. Yeah, sure. Next, you're going to tell me that there's actually 4 members, and that the 4th one is also an impossible-to-build race. Oh, wait.